So I'm legally blind. I can see shades. I can see light and dark. I can see contrast. That's a bit of letters that are very huge fonts. I can see. It's a bit difficult to accept. You know, every day you see your sight going off a little bit more, a little bit more.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Malar from Hearts&Minds Development Center. Welcome to Being Whole, Being Me Series 65. And you can see that I'm laughing. I'm laughing because we're having a bit of a technical difficulties with the speaker today. So I'm going to interact with you. Hopefully you wouldn't mind interacting with me for a bit until we sort that out. We are hoping it would be done in the next 5 minutes. So for those who are here, help me come and say good afternoon to me and to the speaker. Hopefully Dr. Lai will be able to sort out the technical issues. Hi, Gerald. Good afternoon. Happy Friday, and thank you for another informative session. Well, I'm hoping it would be informative. Who else is here? Can you say hello? And, perhaps, say hello to me so on the comment session. And let's look at how we're going to unpack today. I must say that today is, again, another favorite topic of mine. So, I was introduced to Dr. Lai by, if you all remember, Daryl of Endorphi, right? So, and hi, Elizabeth. And Dr. Lai is one of the consultants with Endorphi, and he specializes with adolescents. Oh, I've got 3 people saying hello to me. That is Jay, Elizabeth, and Gerald. So thank you. I hope I can entertain you and you can entertain me until we sort this out before the rest of the world joins us, right? So what is adolescence? So I was actually doing, as usual, a bit of research, right? Maybe, if you're in, when we think about adolescent, what's the age group that we are looking at? And I realized that adolescent is anything after childhood and right up to you becoming an adult. And that's a long time. Maybe that's why it's a very, very difficult space for people. So it's a huge topic. And if you have children who are not considered adults, and adults is not 21, I think we're going to find out from Dr. Lai soon. So let's find out. I see him at the backstage. I'm going to bring him up. So as you think about adolescence and perhaps, your own challenges that you had as an adolescent, let's try and bring Dr. Lai up here. Hello. Hi, Dr. Lai. We got you. Hi, Dr. Lai. I can hear you.
Hello.
Thanks for trying and persisting. Datin Indrayani, thank you very much. I know that you, it will be all right if she joins us too. I'm hoping we can get that in a future session. So, Dr. Lai, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for trying. I was just introducing. I was doing very, minor introduction about you. So, thank you for saying yes to our session. And we were just going into talking about actually what does it mean to be an adolescent. So, but before we go in there, right, Dr. Lai, you've been doing this for 30 over years. Right? And
right. Yes.
You would have seen, I don't know, people who belong to this category of adolescents, transform. Is there many, so I think 34 years is a really, really long time. And you would have gained a lot of experience and expertise around it. So maybe you can perhaps start off telling us a little bit about what got you interested in this space, Dr. Lai? What made you choose this profession?
Right. It actually came as in an impromptu way. I was working as a general psychiatrist in Penang since 1994, And then the government offered scholarships to do child and adolescent psychiatry
Right.
overseas for a year. So I was interested in children and adolescents, so I applied, and thank God they offered, and then I went to UK to just do a year of studies. My wife came with me, and she also learned about special needs in children and
Nice.
adolescents. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
coming back, there was a great need in children and adolescent mental health, and the past few years have actually the need has increased a lot. When I first went to the UK, I've never come across teenagers who cut themselves. It was only in the UK that I first saw my first case of a teenage girl cutting herself on on the arm, and
Right.
that was so strange for me. It's the first time I saw. But coming back, the past few years is like every girls' school, especially secondary school, counselors will tell me that they have students who cut themselves, and you know, and
Mm.
it's getting so common nowadays.
Mm. Mm. Dr. Lai, do you think it is common because it's just happening as to girls are cutting themselves now, or do you think that perhaps it was there, but it was never brought to our attention? What are your thoughts about
No, like it wasn't there. Like
it?
like
Okay.
um, like 30 years ago, it's something not there. Or you go to any girls' school, secondary school, you ask a counselor, they won't tell you there's such problems. Uh,
Ah, okay.
it's I think could be partly due to movies,
Mm.
movies that people watch, and nowadays social media, online, YouTube, partly that kind of influence that has come into our society, especially among teenagers.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so, do you mind telling us, so what's the age range for adolescents?
Um, in theory is 13 to what 18. Some say 21. I think
Okay.
Barack Obama pushed it up to 25.
Yeah.
Um, which scientifically may be true because the brain actually continues developing until about 25 years old.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
so it's
So we're
around there,
talking. So
but in
13.
13, but even then, I think in our country we are seeing girls reaching menarche quite early, even at 10, 11 years old, they starting having periods. So the definition of teenage is actually when you start menarche for girls, right? And then puberty
Mm,
for girls, and yeah.
mm, okay. And is so in your experience with working with children, when I was trying to title it and I was reading about it, it was really difficult for me to get the right title for you. And then I said, it seems like where they're having the most difficult time, which is why I called it "My Life is Difficult and You Don't Get It." So I have three adolescents, according to the age 18, 12, and 12, right? And so one of those things that I hear my kids saying is that you don't get it, mommy, you don't understand. And of course, for me, it was puzzling because my friends' children talk to me, and but I know what they are telling is their real experience, right? So they don't feel understood. So is adolescent this time from puberty, which could be 13 or 10 or whatever age? Because I know some girls who get their first period when they're 9, right? Is this the most difficult time for adolescents? Because I can't call them kids.
I wouldn't say most difficult lah, but I would say it can be difficult.
Mm.
Um, uh, you 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 and I probably have gone through more difficulties after our teenage years, so
Right.
I wouldn't say it's the most difficult. But in general, adolescents, as they go through adolescence, they ask a few of these basic questions. Questions like who am I? So they start to look about for their identity.
Ah,
They want to know, am I normal? You know, if they start having a pimple in the nose, then they feel they are not normal. So, and then, am I capable? So they start looking for their abilities, and if we are too perfectionistic or we set too high expectations for adolescent, then they will develop very low self-esteem. And finally, they ask a question: am I loved? Do people love me? So friendship are very important to them. So adolescents can become very depressed when their best friend don't want to be friends with them. Yeah. So basic questions like this, and one good way of that I use to connect an adolescent with their parent when they see me in the clinic. You know, I have a adolescent girl and her mom next to her, and I say, "Do you know how life was like for your mom when she was your age?" So you have an adolescent, 16 years old, and I asked the adolescent, "Do you know how life was like for your mom when she was 16?" And sometimes she may tell me, sometimes she may not be able to tell me. Then I'll turn to mom and say, "Can you tell, me and maybe your daughter also how life was like for you when you were 16?" And that opens up a lot of opportunity for conversations, And mom starts to brighten up and say, "Oh, when I was 16,
Right.
and I will continue by asking, what was life more difficult for you when you were 16 compared to your daughter now, or do you think she has a more difficult time?" So then you are on a more level playing ground, It's no longer mom comparing with daughter whose life is more difficult. Now it's like 16 comparing with 16, Your 16 and my 16, which one was more difficult? Yeah.
Right. And has there been any verdict as to which was more difficult, the past or the present?
Surprisingly, a lot of mothers tells me that their teenage years are actually easier.
Yeah.
They feel that teenagers today they're actually more stressed.
Yeah.
With schoolwork, expectations, they can't, like COVID, they can't go out. Last time they could go out with friends wherever they like, or I mean they're more free to go out. Nowadays, society a little bit more dangerous, so parents are a little bit more worried about letting children go out too late and things like that. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's actually perspective, right, Dr.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not. I think every generation, every time, every space we live in comes with our own challenges, and it's really how we are perceiving life to be, isn't it? And so, if
Yeah.
we think about how mental health issues is actually rising among the young, very very much more higher, all right, in terms of both mental health as well as the effect of mental health, like harming themselves, depression rates and stuff like this, right? Now, when we think about it, where do you think we've lost context, or how can we make it better for adolescents if we are dealing with adolescents?
I think adolescents are in a strange period where they are neither child or adult. So, in a way, they are still children. In heart, they are children. They are a lot of they still need a lot of attention from parents. They need supervision and guidance from parents. But bodily, they appear to be more adult. And sometimes parents forget that their adolescent children are actually children and not adults. So we tend to put too much responsibility on them sometimes. On the other hand, adolescents are also trying to learn to be adults, and they need more independence. They want to decide more on things. So we get into trouble when a mom still tells a 17-year-old girl, what skirt to wear and what blouse to buy and what color she should go in. Then is still treating her like a 8-year-old girl. So that doesn't help. So yeah. So as children grows into adolescence, parents need to start letting go lah. Starting need to let them have more freedom, but not total freedom because they are not real adults yet. So there are a lot of dangers they do not know. So we usually tell parents there are these 4 Ws we have to ask, when children, adolescents go out. Where are you going? With whom are you going? What time are you coming back? And what are you doing when you are going out? So all the
Nice.
4 Ws, yeah.
Right, right. And so I mean that I think that the issue is real, right? Because on one hand, parents need to remember that they are children trying to be adults, learning how to be adults while figuring out their identity. And I think there's a lot of changes that's happening to them physically, mentally, and emotionally. They go through the most
Yeah, yeah.
of changes, and it's at different levels, right? So as an adult now, I'm also going through some form of identity searching at different points of time in my life, but I don't have the physical aspect to maybe cope. Each people will say, women will struggle with premenopause and postmenopause and all sorts of things, right? Now, so we all have these changes, but I think as adolescents, there are a lot more stuff that's happening physically because there's rapid growth. All right, mentally, there's rapid growth and wanting to be free. So you did say that for parents, it's about learning how to let go, but at the same time to remember that they're children, that they need guidance, and you need to hold them responsible. And that balance may not necessarily be easy because when I mean, of course, I'll speak like a mom, right? With children, they think they're ready for the freedom. So on one hand, what I see with young adults is that, or adolescents, is that when they're much younger, it's easy. 8, 9, it's still not too bad. But the moment they become teens, and they're so smart that they don't behave like they're in their age range because they are very good at articulating their thoughts. So their thoughts might be articulated as if they're much older, right? And as a parent, I need to remember. But the child himself or herself feels that I'm actually ready to take on responsibility, and I deserve this freedom. I know how to dress. I know, you're old-fashioned. This is not culturally, you're not cool enough because there's that peer pressure on how to dress, right? So how do we bring this freedom and responsibility both for the child and the parents together? How do you do that? How do you get them to see from each other's point of view?
There was a study done asking adolescents, asking teenagers about the way their parents parent them. And they find this strange, came across this strange finding. There was these 2 groups of adolescents. One group where the parents are very permissive. That means you can go out anytime and you come back anytime. And you can come back 3, 4 a.m. at night also. Your parents won't question you. And we thought that they should be more happy. Then the other group of teenagers whose parents set strict limits, you come back at 10 or 9 p.m. latest and things like that. So, and they will grumble and complain, why my friend can go out later and I can't. And then in the end, they ask them, are you happy with how your parents parent you? And the surprising thing is they find that the teenagers whose parents set limits for them, they are actually happier.
Nice.
The teenagers whose parents gave them full freedom to do whatever they want and come back anytime they like, actually are less happy. And they ask them why is that? Because the one that the parents didn't set limits for them, they felt that the parents didn't love them enough to care. They felt that, when parents set limits for them, the teenage feel that my parents still cares for me and loves me. Although, verbally they will complain and grumble and say, my friend like that lah, why are you so strict lah? But in the heart, they are actually smiling. But the other one, they may say, oh, my parents give me total freedom, but in their heart they are crying because they know that my parents actually don't care that much for me.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So, yeah.
So how does love come across for adolescents? So you've given us one very good examples where, now I mean, personally for me, I go and tell my children, now I feel free to nag them, right? So I said, Dr. Lai says that, so I'm going to follow Dr. Lai's advice because it's working.
Don't give them my number and address. Although they throw a bad rotten egg at me.
Yeah, but then I'll have to come together with them, right? So I get it because I mean I it makes sense because children are, I think we want to be loved, and how love comes across for them. So total freedom may not sound like love for them. Again, I'm sure context would be important, right? Working with adolescents, right? If you look at a different age range, if we look at preteens or teens, right, up to maybe 13, 14, and then 14 to 18, and probably young adults, is there a difference that you recognize as to how love comes across for them, how love shows up from the parents for them? Like one of those things that you just said, the example that you gave is boundaries. Makes them think that my parents care, right? So what are some other things where you've heard where children tell you or adolescents tell you that I don't think my parents love me because they're not doing this or they're doing this? What are some things that you can share with us?
I think different people, including adolescents, perceive love differently. You must have come across the book called The Five Languages of Love.
Yes.
Yeah. That people shows and receive love in different ways. So some people shows love in giving food. My mom-in-law likes to cook food for my children, when they go to her house but my sons get irritated, when they are eating. My mom-in-law will say, the grandmother will tell them, eat more. Before they can put the spoon into their mouth, they say, eat some more. So after a while, they say, I don't want to eat already. I go to my room. I mean, from the grandmother's point of view, is I love you. That's why I want you to eat more. But from the teenagers' point of view, is you're not giving me space. I need more space. I need to have more freedom and decide things for myself. So different. I think the way they perceive love may be different. So sometimes when a teenager comes with their parents, I will take out a A4 paper, horizontal, and I draw a horizontal line on the paper, and I said, let's say control rules. On one hand is 100% control and rules and regulations. On the other hand is totally no rules. So I will ask the teenager, where are things at the moment? So they may point to somewhere in the middle or somewhere more to the zero. Then I say, where would you prefer your parents set the rules? And then they will point somewhere else. And that is a better way to negotiate with teenagers. You draw a line. These are where things are now. Where would you prefer things to be? Would you prefer mom to talk more to you when you come home, or would you prefer to have more space so that mom will just let you be for the first hour or two after you come home from school? So you can negotiate with them. And teenagers, usually they like choices. If you offer them choices, they will say, okay, I'm okay if mom talks to me maybe 2 hours after I come back from school, but not immediately after, or something like that.
So basically what you're saying is that I think as parents or guardians, if we want to keep the engagement going with the kid, we need to keep communicating and
communication is very important.
And understand their world as to what it means in their world and meet them in their world.
And you can share with them your own stories. When I was 17, and you don't have to share only your successes, share more of your failures. And children actually learn more from our parents' failures than the successes.
I mean, it is really different, right? For me, I'm not sure about you, right? But I think in our growing years, we we meet our parents in their world.
Mm.
Whereas today, I think it's a little bit different because I find parents working really hard to say, how do I meet my children in their world? How do I understand them?
Yeah, yeah.
So
True, true.
that has totally shifted quite a bit. I'm not sure whether the power has shifted, right?
There
And
is an interesting talk in Mandarin from China.
uh
This guru from China, parenting guru from China, said this in Chinese, uh, but I'll translate it for you. Uh, he says, last time when we were young, when our parents give us food, we are so grateful and we say thank you to them. Then he says, nowadays, when parents give their children food, the children eat because they want to just to give face to the parents. That means I eat for your sake only lah. I eat, I give you face only. I eat lah. If I don't like you, I won't eat.
Wow, wow. I mean, I can relate to that. So, what? So, I mean, that's an interesting transition because we relate to the world based on our experience, right? So, and if we had, thought of we made our relationship with our parents work, right? And now it is the other way around. So, what do you think has changed that we've shifted this way, Doctor?
I think that there are maybe partly because our family are smaller nowadays. Last time, one family can have 12 children. I have a friend who says that if you are slower a little bit eating, that there won't be food anymore on the table.
Right.
So you better eat fast. Nowadays, we have much smaller families, only one child or two children, and they get all the attention from the parents. Parents get so upset when they don't eat or they eat slowly. Last time parents don't have time for this. You don't eat, that's your business. Your brothers will get all the food. Maybe
So
a bit too much attention nowadays.
yeah, and well,
Active.
I think that's the interesting thing part for me is that while parents are paying more attention whenever we have issues in school and when we go to school or to the pediatrician when we say we are having trouble or challenges with our children, the first question I get asked is your kid getting enough attention?
Right.
Right?
I get
So
what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, so that's
on the one
interesting.
hand, we are saying we are giving so much attention. On the other hand, is children feel that they're not getting enough attention.
Yeah. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether it is attention or presence. For me,
The thing I think is the way parents give attention to children is more from the parents' point of view. It's not the way the child may want the attention to be. So nowadays parents, because we are so busy, every time the only time we have with them, we will think of using it for the most important things that matters, right? And nowadays the most important thing is education. So the little time we have, we will spend with them doing their homework, or we'll spend with them checking, how is your performance, how was your exam result. So it's every time parents talk to children is only about exam results, schoolwork. That is, from parents' point of view, could be attention or have you eaten enough food and things like that. But it's not going behind and asking what does the child really need or want. I like to ask children in my clinic. I like to give them 3 wishes. If you were to meet Cinderella's fairy godmother and she let you use a magic wand 3 times, what will you wish for? They get 3 wishes and they love it. And sometimes I ask parents, do you know what are the 3 wishes your children would like to have? And most of them will stare at me and blink and they say, I don't know. So parents need to go back and ask their children, what are your 3 wishes, So something that we may have never asked our children what they want.
Nice. what I'm hearing from you is it sounds like very much what happens in the corporate world, that we probably are having conversations which is very um, practical in nature.
Performance based.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we are disconnecting with the person, right? Because like what you said, we might be spending more time, but the more time is actually spent in activities which is performance based.
Mm.
And that performance becomes their basis of identity, right? I remember when I was talking to a 12-year-old some years ago, and it was we were trying to make a Mother's Day celebration. Yeah. And so this boy said, we were talking about cards. I said, no, I won't make cards. I said, but don't you think it will make your mom happy? And he said, no, my mom will be happy only if I get A's. And so I'll get her the A's because this card is not. Yeah, and I thought that was, it was sad and it was also interesting because that's what has been communicated over and over again, right? That if it's how you validate in any relationship and the message that they get back. So what I'm hearing from you is, while we might be spending a lot more time seemingly communicating, but the communication can be very practical. It's not about the person, but rather it is about the results.
Yeah.
So the relationship becomes very results focused one. And I also think that in the past, so for me is that I think in the past we spent a lot of time. There was a lot of there was less distraction, so we were really focused on what our parents were up to, even without a lot of communication or articulation. Because you observe your parents looking tired, you observe the challenges that your parents go through the conversations, right? Whereas today, we may be losing out on that because we have the spaces, we go into our own spaces, we don't know what's happening with each other. So there's a lot of changes that's taken place. I think that we're not, what was supposed to be better, maybe it was not so good after all. But what I'm going to do right though is that I'm going to read to you one comment that's come out from Gerald. But before that, Radhika, hi, I saw you coming. Thank you for joining us. Gerald Fernandez says each generation have their unique ways and experience life differently. I believe too we should not compare but learn to understand the current times challenges and our children better, i.e. balance. And he has a question which is leading into...
Indrani has something to say.
Sure, Indrani, you can join us.
Hi, I'm Indrani Liu. I'm a teacher and I've been teaching for 33 years. From college to secondary school, primary school, preschool, and then back again. And through the years, what I have noticed is that the parents, all right, are not communicating with their children, and that has actually caused a lot of problems. So when they talk to the children, this is what usually happens if you got 2, 3 children. You finish your homework or not? Huh? All right. Then tomorrow you pack your bag. You quickly pack your bag. Basically. And then to the husband and wife are the same. Tomorrow you're sending your children. Then, oh yes, then John has the tuition later. So will you pick him up? That's all. So basically it's just functions only.
Functional.
You're just trying to make sure that you get through all the items on your checklist. And another interesting thing is when the children are learning, the babies are learning to walk. Wonderful, so good. Oh, never mind, you fell down. It's okay. Try again. When the children get to K2, that means upper kindergarten and primary and especially secondary, there's no more what do you call that? Encouragement and all that. It's all scolding. We have actually had children and teens committing suicide. So I think what needs to be done is the parents, all right, we need to have some sort of program, maybe online, anyone can access. They need to learn how to speak to the children. That's one. And then also for the teenagers themselves to also learn how to listen and communicate as a family. That is very, very important. This also applies to schools. Because some teachers why are you so stupid? You cannot do.
But that thing, I want to counter that. I agree with you, but I still want to counter it. Right? If you think about the old school of thought, like if it was my mom, right? My mom was, I think, fantastic at communicating, because if I said something like, "Why did you do that?" and if I tell my mom, my friend did it, so I did it. My mother will say, "If your friend eats shit, you'll eat shit." One, right? I mean, and I never thought of committing suicide for that. Number one. Number two. Also, like, I mean, even today, I can tell you, I cannot beat my mom's standard. My mom will never stop and tell me, you're a good mother, or you're good at doing what you're doing. Because when she lives with me, she's always looking at what I didn't do, what I could have done better, right? So it seems to contradict, right? Because we know that we grew up, the previous two generations, the Gen X, probably, we grew up with a lot of criticism. Right?
Yeah.
And so while I agree with you that we become the fans of our children when they are young, and then we start we let go of being their fan. I agree with that. That we are probably not very forget about objective. We're not very real when it comes to expectation. Right? I get that, right? But it was even worse in the past. So how do we connect the dots here?
Maybe what is a very big thing that perhaps many people overlook is the fact that when we were young, there was always an adult in the house.
Okay.
But nowadays, what has happened is that the children, all right, usually are at home with a maid.
Okay.
They're left to their own devices.
Okay.
And generally speaking, I have teachers who grumble that the children kurang ajar. So I said, memang dia kurang ajar because the parents are not there. Even the mom is working and there's no adult in the house except the maid. So I said, we know they're kurang ajar because actually there's no one to ajar them manners at home. So we have to start doing it. Don't you complain?
The other thing is,
and then the other thing would be that emotional link. All right, has also been in a way literally fractured by the fact that the children, especially teenagers, spend a lot of time in their own rooms, online and all that. And I have situations whereby they refuse to come downstairs to eat.
The other thing is, in the past, we have more leeway for errors. In the past, when we live in, let's say, kampongs, when we get something wrong, and parents say something wrong and do something wrong, children can just run away or go to a friend's house, stay, and that's it. And nowadays, if we get it wrong, there's not so much leeway, because nowadays when we get it wrong, child gets, like you say, we never talk about suicide last time, but nowadays they do. Nowadays, you get it wrong, like the Mark Pit like that, you can actually die on the street. And you get it wrong, there is no more turning back. You get only one chance. So that's why nowadays we actually promote positive parenting programs. We want to teach parents how to get it right the first time. Last time, parents can do trial and error. You get it wrong, there is a turning back. But nowadays, there's less chance of turning back. So we want to get parents to do it more correctly first time.
Yeah, but again, I'm going to counter that, Dr. Lai.
Okay.
I'm going to counter that. So I agree with you that, there's a lot of pressure on young people at different levels, right? And I also agree with that thing when she said, there was an adult in the house. And I think that made a whole load of difference in terms of our life skills and communication skills. I think because we had to live with a lot of people, we learned better skills in terms of communication and learning how to really have relationship, right? And because we had to please the adults around us. Today, with the kind of freedom we give our children don't have a need to learn how to manage difficult relationships, because they have a lot of things on their own, in their own way. So that freedom takes away sometimes their skills, which is why sometimes, they're not able to have the kind of conversation that they want to have. So we know it has led up to all of this, right? But what I want to actually counter is when you say that, in the past, also if I did something, the whole village will be correcting me if I lived in a small household. Right?
True.
And then find out it takes the whole village to raise a child, because because now you might have cameras looking at you. You don't know who is taking the videos, right? But my mom always said, God is always watching you, and God came in the form of villages, the community, the people, right? So you become very conscious about your choices, not because you're righteous, but because someone is looking at you, and that brings out your raises
very true.
level of awareness. Whereas today it's different. Number one. Number two, when you talk about pressure of perfection, right? I'm not sure whether there's actually that. I think the expectations of young kids are very high, because there's so much they need to achieve. Because, if I didn't do well in school, I can say, we can't afford tuition, I didn't understand, I'm not so clever. But today, the young children, they cannot say they're not clever, because the moment the children say, Mommy, I don't understand, the parents will send them for tuition. Right? So the stress of having no reason to fail. And fail here means not getting 100 marks or an A. Fail is not at 40 or 50. I think those things seem to have shifted. But in terms of freedom of who they want to be, there's so much of loudness that I wonder whether with our positive parenting, and I'm not against positive parenting, I think I'm looking for context, have our children become less resilient? Have they become so sensitive that even for the smallest thing, they have a breakdown?
Okay. My theory, this is my theory.
Okay.
Children last time has actually more freedom, in the sense that the way they play games and example, my father's time when he was young, right? He used to go to the pineapple plantation and the jungle to catch spiders, so that they can fight. They have these spider fights, and because of that he got malaria after that. But he recovered. But last time children plays with their friends, and when they meet with obstacles, they actually have to think of ways to overcome those obstacles and get what they want. Okay, parents have no time for them. So in a way, in talking about brain science, their brain actually has built a lot of these branches. When you meet obstacles, this is what you do. When you meet problems, this is what you do. So in their games and in their mixing with friends and going to jungles, they actually has a lot of these. They go into new situations, they solve problems, and nowadays children do not have that kind of opportunity. All they do is copy from your book, write worksheets. So in a way, their brain is just one track mind only. Just only one track.
Right.
You only study and pass exam. That's all. So when you face with obstacles and life challenges, they don't know what to do. There's no branches. There's no side road to travel.
Right.
Children last time they know already. Got problem means this is what you do.
Nice. Thank you. So I think the context is really, really important, that we become what we have been exposed to and what we have practiced.
Yeah.
Whether the skills that we have or the skills that we don't have has a lot to do with how I used my life, my time in life, right? Gerald Fernandez is asking, Dato, in today's world, adolescents having lots of free exposure to online media. So that becomes, I don't know, maybe the first parent. What are some of the common challenges for adolescents and parents these days that you see in your sessions, when parents and children come to you?
I have some horror stories.
Yeah.
Where a 13-year-old girl, meets a boy online, and then the boy asks her to send some nude photo of herself, and she, stupid fella, go and send. The mother and the father, when they found out, they almost pengsan. So adolescents need a lot of supervision when they go online. One good thing that we do last time when our children were younger is there's only one computer, and the computer is in the living room. You want to use the computer, you come to the living room and use. No using computers in your own room, because you don't know what they are doing in the room.
Right.
There's one thing. So supervision is very important. Again, what my wife says, communication with your children. Keep the communication link open. So like this girl who went and sent off photos to the boy, her communication with her mom is still open. So when she starts worrying, she tells her mother, and her mother starts to take action. So that communication need to be there. If we shut down that communication, they don't know what to do. Then there will be big trouble.
Nice. Okay. So basically, what you're saying is that to again, right? The situation has changed, because in the past you can say we only have one computer, but today with online, not only
correct,
they have their own laptop, they have their own device. Right. So control is even more challenging now. So I'm not sure whether control is even possible, right? Gerald has another question. Dato and Datin, please share with us some of your success stories on how you dealt with your own children for us to learn. I like the way he's laughing and then he's switching the camera to Datin. Yes.
And then he turns it around. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to share this first.
Okay.
Have you all heard of the National Health and Morbidity Survey?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that is conducted by the Ministry of Health every how many years? 5 years. Something every 2 years or 5 years. So I just want to share with you some statistics from that.
Okay.
Malaysia, our population is 33 million. Out of around 1/3 would be children, so up to 16 years of age. The statistics show that 424,000 children have been diagnosed as having mental health problems in Malaysia.
Wow.
424,000. And the number of child and adolescent psychiatrists we have in Malaysia is not more than 20.
Wow.
I think less, about 16 or so. Then it says here, what contributes to the mental health problem? 43% peer problem, 16% conduct problem, 8.3% emotional problem, and 2.3% hyperactive problem.
Answer the question.
So
what did we do last time?
There's definitely something that it's quite very concerning.
Yeah. It is almost 500,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost 500,000, and now not only we have a condition that's rising, we don't have help for the condition, which means that we'll have to deal with severe consequences, not in the long run but in the short run. So thanks for that. I will look that up and share it, or maybe if Kirtana finds it, she'll also share it shortly. Thank you for that. It is a different ballgame that we're in. Yes.
And then you can look up also ACEs, which is adverse childhood events.
Okay.
Children who suffer more than 4 of these actually have their lifespan reduced. Okay, their ill health and all that. So it's all very negative happenings. And what are adverse childhood events? Where the child experiences, say, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, mental illness of a family member, divorce, that is really coming up, divorce, substance abuse, violence against the mother, mental illness, having a relative who's been sent to jail or prison. So if you notice, emotional neglect and mental and divorce is increased. So that also affects children. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe very quickly, just to answer the question that you asked just now. Parenting, I find the important thing is it's not so much what we say to our children, it's what we do in front of them. So things like, don't do what I do, just do what I say. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So children need to see how you live your life, and that they will follow. So if you tell the children don't shout and scream, and you start shouting and screaming at home, then it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
you need to live the life that you want your children to live in front of them.
Walk the talk, not
Walk the
talk.
talk. Yeah, correct.
Okay, Mangal Muthu has said something really interesting, and I'm going to read out her comment. She says, perhaps this generation of parents are also trying to compensate for the lack that has been experienced by themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's a cycle, and that's why conscious parenting is important, right? Because we all, not just in parenting, we all end up doing what we think we lacked and giving it, assuming the next generation wants what we wanted and what we thought we lacked. Advanced tech and social structures are so different when compared to the past, yes, and I think Dr. Lai had addressed that. Also, this is interesting, the child comes with upgraded software and parents are running an outdated version with the current sandwich generation cohorts, hence the gap. What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Lai and Dato Lai and Datin as well?
One parent who brought a child to teenager to see me and said he's spending so much time on the computer and playing games. Then I asked the mom and the dad to draw a pie chart, and I asked them to when you were his age, how much time do you spend studying? How much time do you spend playing, sleeping, and so on, right? And the surprising thing, and then I got a child to draw. The surprising thing is the chart is almost the same. The amount of a percentage of time they spend playing when the parents were teenagers, and their teenager, the percentage is the same. The only thing is last time, what I asked the parents, what do you do when you play? Oh, we go out with friends, we go to cinemas, we go to makan, or we go here and we play this, we play kite, and we play other things. Nowadays, children, all they have is just the device.
Right.
We don't allow them to go here, we don't allow them to go there, or their social skill is so bad that they don't know how to interact with their friends. So all they do is play. But if you look at the percentage, is actually the same. So the amount of time they're spending to play is actually the same as last time. But the only thing they know what to do is to play computer games.
The type of play has changed. But what is play during our generation was perhaps more physical.
So one thing I told parents to do is maybe you can spend some time to teach your children how to play your games last time, teach them how to play kites and take them out to, then they will tell you, oh, no time for this, no time for that, no time for this.
I mean, then again, I think that the challenge is again back to presence of parents in the children's life, isn't it?
Sorry.
Presence, parents being present in
correct. Yeah.
Because on one hand, you have both the parents working and trying to make that little time. How we talk about how quality time is important. And so I think, so would I be right in saying, when we think about the issues that our adolescents are facing now, it is really an accumulation of the kind of exposure they've actually got. And so if you want to shift any one of that, we need to really we need to be conscious about our parenting. We need to perhaps look at how we're living our life together.
But start off by trying to understand them rather than to criticize what they are doing.
So understand their world that they are experiencing right now, right? Yeah. So understand their world so that you can empathize with them and communicate. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that those are things that's coming through, and these are not new stuff, isn't it? I think just that in the past it naturally happened. Now it is not naturally happening because parents are also distracted, I believe.
Yeah. One good guide is to ask yourself, when I was my child's age, when I was a teenager, would I have liked my mom talking to me like this? Or would I have liked my dad telling me to do this?
Yeah, but we
If
need
you
to
don't like,
avoid.
then you don't use the same tone.
No, but Dr. Lai, if I didn't like how my parents spoke to me, my mom spoke to me, and if I were to tell her before I finish my sentence, her hand would have landed on my face. and I wouldn't think of running away because I had nowhere to go, right? Whereas today, you can't
Or
do
how
that.
how would I have wished my mom could have, talked to me better?
Right. Okay, so it seems to me, right, Dr. Lai, that there's a lot of, again, responsibility being in the parents, the ball being in the parents' court to understand, to empathize, to acquire skills, to make it right for the growth of the children is what I'm hearing over and over again.
Yeah.
I didn't know parenting was so tough.
Parents need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of our children.
All right. And how do we do that before we finish for the day?
Self-care.
Self-care.
Take some time for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay, you give us so many things to do, and then now you're telling me don't be so hard. Yeah. I mean, I thought parenting was hard for my parents, but no, now I relook at it and I think, oh my God, that the difficulty they had was very much physical, right? And today, the parenting challenges are different. But I suppose that's the ongoing thing with developing nations with exposure and stuff like that. So, Dr. Lai, thank you very much for joining us today and saying yes and helping us to actually more than understand. I think what my greatest takeaway from our conversation is really, to keep the communication going and to also remember that maybe our life as adolescents were not all that different, but it is showing up differently in today's generation.
Yeah.
Play is showing up differently. Stress is showing up differently. Identity is showing up differently. So is pressure. So thank you for giving us that input for as parents and as caretakers for us to think about
Most
it.
welcome.
And I must thank Datin Indrani for also coming in and giving us the juicy piece of numbers, and for us to really look at, how to continue supporting our children, rather the future generation. So Datin Indrani, I'm going to send you a text after this for our next session, and you're going to say yes, because there we will.
I sent you the statistics that I read out just now.
Oh, okay. We will actually put it up. So thank you, Datin, and thank you, Dato. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for persisting. I am going to put up the statistics shortly in the comments. So for those who are listening in, look out for the comment session. I'll put it up. So thank you very much, and have a very, very pleasant days ahead, and stay safe. As I say that, and as we say goodbye to Datin Indrani and Dato Lai, we are at the end of this session, and I hope it was a useful session, especially if you have adolescents or you look around adolescents whom you feel like, oh my goodness, why are they so difficult? But we realize now, 424,000 young people who fall into the adolescent category have mental health issues, and that's a lot. So with that, I want to thank you for joining us and staying with us. Thank you very much to Mangai, Gerald, all the time, Sri Murugan, Radhika, Jay, Elizabeth. I think I've covered all, for joining us today and asking us the question and putting in the comment. So till we meet next week with another speaker, stay safe. And signing off, this is Malu from Hearts and Minds Development.